This is the jointly presented program by the Victoria Memorial Hall, APJ Kolkata Literary Festival. And it is for us to be here and be able to hold our sessions in this rather majestic environment, I would say, call it majestic. We are going to start the afternoon with the first session, which is Caravan Conversations. Partnering us in presenting this is Caravan Magazine. They have a very special program which for the first time is coming to Calcutta, which is an event that they call Caravan Conversation. This is a conversation between an author who has a new book recently published, and another equally, shall I say, interested, talented writer, so that it is truly a conversation between writers. And we are very, very lucky to have with us here today Anjum Hasan, who is going to be launching her book, a poet, a novelist. Her debut novel, Lunatic in My Head, was shortlisted for the Crossword Book Award. She has subsequently gone on to write other novels, the latest one of which, The Cosmopolitans, will be launched this afternoon. And with her in conversation will be Saikat Majumdar, who teaches modern and contemporary world literature at Stanford University. He is also the author of the critically acclaimed Silverfish and the more recent Firebird, which was also launched in the city recently. We are very honored and privileged to have with us to launch the book for us today, Kalyan Ray, of No Country. He has published several books of translations of contemporary Indian poetry into English, including City of Memories, which is published by Writing Penguin India, which has a preface by Allen Ginsberg, and Emperor Babur's Prayers and Other Poems by Shakti. I would like us to give a hand of welcome to all three participants, if you could please come up. So I invite Anjum, Saikat, and Kalyan to please come up on stage. Yanda, you look the quintessential by launching this book. This is the first time the book is being launched in Kolkata, though I had present at the Caravan
evaluating the worth of not individuals, but of ideas. Some are outside and some certainly themselves. The journey takes us, it begins in modern Bangalore, although we see glimpses of old Bangalore, the memories of Whitefield and other parts of Bangalore which have changed, alas, changed a great deal. And yet, it takes us into the heart of India, in a place called Simhal, which reminded me of Sinhala, the place of King Ravana. You do meet a king, and an extremely seductive, wonderful a king of shower. And the idea of a dance, which has lasted in India, and yet the dancers do not always understand the dance. And there is a great contradiction, and the marketing of the dance very often will take us into territories that have nothing to do with the worth and the meaning and the origin and the necessity of that dance itself. I don't want to hold forth because I'm sure that Shilpa will urge all kinds of wonderful little nuggets and gems from Anjum Hasan. And I am privileged to have read this lovely, lovely, wonderful, intelligent novel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalyan, for setting the tone for the afternoon. It's a great pleasure to welcome Anjum Hasan to Kolkata, friend and fellow writer. I think I still claim the right to welcome people to Kolkata because I have lived away from the city for a very long time. But welcome Anjum and welcome Kalyan to Kolkata. It's as Kolanda said, it's really wonderfully seductive novel because the very first thing is it's a deeply attractive world for any of us who love art, literature. It's the world we want to know more about. It's very seductive world, and it's clearly a war novelist at the height of her powers because the characters are real. They're very real people, and at the end, it's probably most striking achievement is something which is said in the book itself that being a modern Indian is hard work. I want to ask Anjum later about this, but much of the book I'd say is the complexity of being a modern Indian, what it means. But I think the book speaks probably best for those of you who haven't had a chance to read it. I would request Anjum to open the discussion by reading a section from the novel of what the world is like. So Anjum, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalyan, for that wonderful, generous introduction. And Saikat, thank you. I think I've already decided that it's going to be the home of this of this novel because here we are in this marvelous setting. I don't think I've ever done a book launch in such a grand setting for any of my books. And you both said really perceptive, really kind of intelligent things about the book, and I like the fact that you both picked up the fact that it is really about an attempt to write a number of ideas and see which ones hold up and which ones don't. But also it's an attempt to talk about the modern Indian consciousness through strong characters and through storytelling. So it is not an academic exercise in any sense. I'm attracted to the storytelling aspects of the novel as much as the ideational. And the attempt is to bring both together. I don't know if I've succeeded, but that has been the attempt. So I'm going to start by reading a little bit, which is from the beginning of the book, so you won't feel like you're missing anything. And as Kalyanda said, Baban Reddy is one of the characters who generates an excitement in this novel, partly because he's an artist and his art is the subject of an exhibition that is being held in a brand new, very, very posh, large gallery in Bangalore. But he also generates excitement because he's somebody that my character in an older Bangalore, a Bangalore which had much less money, much less ambition, much less cosmopolitanism. And here he is 15 years later, he's back in the city of his birth, and she's meeting him, a very changed person. Both she and him are very changed people because when they were younger, they were both working in a magazine. He was just a graphic designer. He had artistic ambitions, but he had not really done anything about them. And he was very laid back in a way that I find typically Bangalorean. But given that he's much younger than her, he also has a kind of a generous. So he takes off with New York, doesn't come back to Bangalore for 15 years, and when he does now at the start of the novel, he's this kind of rock star artist. And people who have nothing to do with art, are not particularly well versed or interested in art, are very excited about Baba. And the work that he's displaying is called Nostalgia. Nostalgia was big. Grainy black and white news played on a gigantic vintage TV set. The plain ceramic vase on the round-cornered square coffee table and the dinner plate-sized roses in it as if they'd been stolen from a giant's lair, as did the 10-foot-high, old-fashioned rattan chair facing them. The news on the TV, focusing on the indistinct face of the newscaster as she mouthed statistics about death in the jungles and government scams, was not new. This magnified piece of artwork, this humongous living room installation, was Nostalgia, Baban Reddy's latest offering to the world. World meant world in Baban's case. Premiered in Venice, and after stops in major Indian cities, would travel to Shanghai, London, Los Angeles. Then Baban would go home to New York, and the art aficionados would wait, perhaps with mixed feelings, but inevitably a sense of anticipation for what he was going to cook up next. For whatever else Baban did to get people talking, there was one thing he never did, which was to repeat himself. Each new piece was a surprise in relation to his prior work and offered no clue about what was to follow. Kayana climbed the step ladder set up by the chair and sat down Lilliputian at its center, watching the news, except that it wasn't the news she was watching, it was nostalgia. Wherever in the world nostalgia went, the news on its TV screen would always be the previous days. From country to country, nostalgia would travel, bringing up the rear, as it were, reminding us, according to the exhibition catalogue, that we are victims of today, hostage to tomorrow, and nostalgic for yesterday. Around Kayanor, the their wine, their conversation muffled by the creamy canapes they were stuffing their mouths with, their sidestepping movements, excitement. Was it art? Was it Baban? Was it themselves? From a surveyed the newness of the crowd. They had familiar figures, the modest artists, young savants, self-prints of art, ardent critic or two. That was scene. I mean, something strangely electric. Baban had returned in glory to his hometown as a public opinion, but to lend glamour to the scene, bringing into the market of art an unusual energy. Sitting there on that chair for one that was big enough to hold four, and it was not just the scale of this exhibition or the unfamiliar air of expensive perfume and boisterous laughter in art. Just 15 minutes ago, she'd been wandering in the quiet, leafy lanes of the swanky Bangalore neighborhood of Sadashivnagar, looking for the gallery, confused about the address. At every turn, she encountered soaring mansions of stupendous luxuriousness, and at every second one, she slowed down, certain a structure so showy could not be a home, wondering if it was perhaps the place she was looking for. When she finally found it, out to be nothing like those designer residences. It was a charming modernist throwback, a functional warehouse-like building with nothing in its simple wooden exterior to indicate that art lay within. Continuing her scrutiny of the room, Kainat spotted an artist's friend, a painter of limpid water Bangalore that were, unlike Bhavan's tongue-in-cheek nostalgia, genuinely nostalgic. They waved at each other, and she knew she ought to go over and chat. But the oddness of the evening had started to affect her, anxiety bubbling through her like a tablet taking its time to dissolve in a glass of water. Before she could think of more proofs for her state of mind, her ex-boyfriend, Sati Thakur, came up to her and touched her dangling ankle with one nicotine-stained fingernail. Partner, she called, surprised to see him. He only went to art shows at Kainat's insistence, and she had certainly not insisted on this one. They were set on different paths now. She still devoted to that increasingly estranged thing called art, he being knocked around on the streets of the so-called real world. In any case, here was Sati now, unexpected and unremitting, still holding on to her foot, despite being the kind of man who rarely touched anyone in public, and certainly not a woman he had given up his right to. Gifts, she asked with deliberate civility, her confusion now complete. Several disconnected planes were coming together on the canvas of her life, making her feel that the cubists were right. Look closely, and the whole picture is not singular, but a series of conjoined truths.
Thank you, Anjum. Beautifully true. You can see right there why this is such a seductive and attractive world, and you get a clear sense of being in this party, and not without a sense of irony. And at the same time, you can see why this has been called a novel of ideas in a sense, in the great European tradition of the novel of ideas as well. The intellectual and the visceral come together really interestingly. So I want to begin with an idea-driven question, and the question is going to be about the title of the book, the Cosmopolitans. So as we all know, it is a very loaded word. It's an extremely loaded word, and you and I, we've been having a conversation about the relationship between the provincial and cosmopolitan effective aesthetic energy. And but what is interesting is when the adjective cosmopolitan becomes a noun, when it becomes the cosmopolitan, we cannot help but there is an element of irony there, that especially in the plural, that touch of irony. And I wanted to talk a little more about that. If there's a sense of irony about kind of external, considering this what I call is a kind of meta-artistic work. It's a work about the world of art, and there's obviously kind of implicit element of self-reflection. So, what would you say is the place of irony in the title?
It certainly is an ironic noun, partly because I think there's so many ways of being a cosmopolitan. One is self-congratulatory way. The way, for instance, an English-speaking elite in India calls its values are much more liberal, and it is a class much more open-minded. But it can natives, but would be horrified 50 kilometers outside Bangalore. Very, very closeted kind of cosmopolitanism, which only thrives among others of its own kind. That's one kind, and I describe that. But I don't believe necessarily that that kind of cosmopolitanism is entirely because I think Kainat, my character, is also drawing from being a child of a very Nehruvian father, who belongs to a generation as literally airports, building also have an idea of herself as cosmopolitan, and she has inherited that idea of a cosmopolitan that doesn't necessarily have to do with language, ethnicity, and religion, but is a kind of a pan-Indian, modernist, forward-looking, confident cosmopolitanism. So there's that as well, which need not be moneyed. It could be a very middle-class ordinariness, but it is still really a cosmopolitan. Then there's the third kind, which is less acknowledged, which is the cosmopolitanism of the immigrant, of a person who say travel West Bengal, or the other way, to just in search of work, and on a train journey that kind of makes she meets this man who comes from a small village in West Bengal. And he has lived and worked all over the country. But he has no experience in these places because all just avenues of employment. And the only place he really knows is his little village home where he grew up. I mean, it's ironical because it's not one thing. And it's under attack, defended. And that strain of thinking takes the form of an artist called Nur Jahan, who was not very well known when she was painting her pictures back in the 80s, but a curator does a show of her work and suddenly everyone is up in arms against it because she paints nudes. So that's another kind of cosmopolitanism where certain aspects, certain ways of expressing ourselves which were acceptable because they were part of this cosmopolitan outlook are no longer acceptable. And cosmopolitanism is seen as a form of degradation, a form of libertarianism, which is not in tune with Indian culture. I'm trying to examine all these different forms.
Oh, that's really, I'm glad that you're looking at the term from all angles in kind of positive and negative meanings, because it can become a kind of disembodied abstract thing. And I think there are hints of that already in the opening passage Anjum read out to get this sense of this kind of airy cosmopolitanism, which is beautiful but also kind of too easy in a way. What really interests me is that you obviously chose the world of visual art to explore this. And I wanted to ask you why you chose the world and whether you had any personal connections to this world. And specifically, what are the challenges, if any, of capturing one art form in another, in this visual art in narratives? And so would you say a little more about that?
Well, I wrote a novel about art, about visual art specifically, because I just wanted to find out more about it. I wanted to go into a gallery and ask myself, what is the meaning of this artwork? What is it saying to me? So I wasn't starting from a position of awareness or extreme knowledge or any kind of inside information necessarily about the artwork. And this is necessarily a novel about the Bangalore artwork. It's not an ethnography. These are not real people. They're not based on real people. It's your so it's not, it would be very different, for instance, if an art, a novel sample that might be life. For me, it's the experience of art, which I don't think we talk enough about. We talk about the market, we talk about art. We talk about what art Indian. Or the experiential aspect of just going into art gallery, not without too much paraphernalia, too much paranoia on in your mind when you're standing for work like nostalgia. So it was really that led me to visual art. And I read a novel and reading other novels about art. But there's do this. For instance, John Updike has a novel called Seek Thy Face, which is a fictionalization of the American abstract expressionists. And there's a Jackson Pollock-like character. There's a character based on his wife, Krasna. And that is a very insider novel. And if you don't know that world, you're going to miss a lot of the references. So that's one kind of way of writing about art. And another kind of way, I think, is to look very much at, what does an artist I don't know if you've seen this film called Bobighat by Kiran Rao. Amir Khan plays the artist, and he's always frowning. And he's always frowning, and that's meant to show that he's serious. So there's that profound, stroke pompous way of writing or depicting art, which is to show that artist is a deep and mysterious soul, which is hard to approach, and it's not necessarily a very witty or humorous or ironic space you think. And I'm like,
may I, with your permission, being a Bengali, I can't help but jump into the conversation. That would give it to everybody, including please. One of the things that struck me was the idea of the very name of it. In itself is ironic, because we have cosmos. Polis is a city, cosmos is everything. And I found in your novel, tell me if I'm reading too much into this, where it goes into this, go to this little place in Simha, and they're all dancing, and here is this place. What they were dancing was some kind of old love ritual, and it didn't matter to Kayan out which gods or creatures they represented. What struck her was how they had captured the truth about love. Nothing else would ever express it better. This simple and sinuous rhythm, this leisurely play, this give and take, this conversation between body and body. How else to make love speak? It was a vision of life that was playing out before her, not a set of coordinated movements. The vision said, why suffer when everything is simple? It said, your thoughts travel through your body and express themselves clearly like this and this. It said, I love, therefore I am. I thought it was just a magnificent place in the novel, and I just stood up and walked around a bit. For your having written this, but at the same time full of admiration. The point is, and of course, it's been an attempt to talk to these dancers, and they're tongue-tied, they have nothing to say, they have nothing individually. It is when they dance that they become the dancer and the dance, and it's a wonderful thing that you brought out. And I'm sorry I disagree with you, Saikat, because you talk about visual arts. This is about all the forms of art. It's even about thinking about art. So, I mean, that is the cosmos, and the polis is a very small part of it.
I completely, I mean, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. It's visual art, but also dance plays a big role later on in the novel, and that was sort of the latter part of my question, which I was hoping to add. What is the challenge in life to movement or to kind of visual sensory appeal in linguistic narration, which has an element of abstraction? You have to bring it back in a different way. So that I was really interested, and I'm really glad you read out that passage where the dance, and there's also another passage you remember where they talked about the whole going about a daily chore, a daily life. I mean, she's doing nothing special, but just the act of what she does, and becomes the subject of dance. And all of this is captured in language. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested in the challenge because I think it is a challenge to describe a lot of, at least contemporary art, which may have very specific, almost specialized history. And as a viewer, it really helps to know that history. But I keep coming back to what happens if an artist walks to a gallery. A layperson experience, even though Kainat, my character, has had a history with art and she has written about it, artist herself, so she does know something of that history, but she's not a professional. So I'm writing a journal not materially. If that is your position, then it really becomes a very emotional experience, and that's exactly the part that Kalyan read. She's watching this dance and she realizes it's all in what I'm feeling as their dance. Nothing over. She does attempt to interview them and create a kind of ethnography of the dance. She realizes it's actually good. And I think at some point I'm also trying to take down art a little bit because the language of art has become so specialized in exhibition catalogs, in art magazines, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be. And I'm not an art critic, so I'm not going to be able to do that in non-fiction, in an article or as criticism, but you can do it in a novel. There are so many things in a novel, and this is one. Challenge conventional languages of talking about specific areas of experience.
I'm really glad that we are talking about Diana because we need to talk about Diana. She's at the heart of the novel, and she's the character who, it's really it's novel is all about. So I have questions about her, but before that, I suggest Anjum, why don't you read a passage which gives a sense of who Diana is. She's a really intriguing character, especially as a protagonist.
So Kainat is a very ordinary character in some ways. She has nothing really on her curriculums and that tend to be very attractive to the drifter, the solitary wanderer. So I'm going to read you a little bit about her. First of all, money. Kainat had only one. So, braving passport officials and census takers, strangers on trips, she revealed her religion, caste, and clan, and boyfriends who wanted name before they kissed her. She started company of people, Akbar Garfield, not to sing pseudonymous Urdu poets out of respect for whose language her father had named in the first place. If asked to trace the roots of her breakup with Sathi, it would come down to this. He did not know how to pronounce her name. She loved being Kainat. She thought it was grand to be called the world, hailed by the noun used to describe all of God's creation. It was just that pronounced with its vowels compressed instead of undulating, so that it ended up rhyming with why not. Her name became ridiculous. This mispronunciation felt like a mock to that words. After he died, she would get even angrier, recalling something of her name. Kainat believed that it was not accidental. Akbar's thick eastern would destroy the sibilance of her name. This handicap was often half was witnessed to malnutrition babies, death due to droughts, and corruption among government officials. He insistently calculated how many children could be sent to school or how many year ransoms the Kainat's upspread making rubbish. Once she had loved Sathi for this very reason, his black and white ethics, his grassroots point of view. When she first met him, his serotonin eventually ways. But unlike she and Baban, she and Sati was still sort of kinsmen, if no longer kin. For Sati was from where she was. I'm going to skip a bit and continue reading the same section. And was settled in the same corner of the sofa that he favored when he lived in his house with Diana and her father. Questions and asking. Best, he kept usual interest at something he had seen countless times before, the painting on the wall. Noor Jahan had painted a bedroom scene. A woman lying undressed, a man sitting on its edge, his bare back to her neighbor. The rich oils had done justice to the sweaty sheen of the man's skin, glinting on the woman's face, the flowers printed on the curtains, the brass of a doorknob. The proportion, the colors, brown cream, a dash of brick red, olive green. It was called the painting of a sorrow, and Kainat had given it pride of place in her living room, largely because of its poignant Shakespearean name. And yet, the picture was completely dead. The woman's face had the vacuous expression of a studio model's. The man's profile was as wooden as a toy monkey's. Their bare limbs were too carefully arrayed to convey either lust or love, or indeed the mysterious sorrow that the title referred to. And yet, and yet, and yet. It was interesting that the artist, however ingeniously, had tried to claim nudity for herself, rediscover it. When people saw such an artwork, people like Baban's girlfriend or the men in the mob, they saw a Muslim woman painting a taboo subject, and they were either approving or enraged. They missed the individual choice. NJ Noor Jahan had avoided the example before her of those frank or tender painters of the female body, and chosen instead to emulate that classic portraitist from more than a century ago, that painter of both human beings and divinities who had established forever in the public mind how the Indian woman, clothed or otherwise, should look. His heroines were a figure. Their breast or two was accepted as intrinsic to the religious scale. NJ had no such cover, and hence the recent troubles. As in the 19th century, when gesturing and classical sources, controversy when their subjects came across as real people, NJ's art was hated precisely because the realism of her work made people think naked men and women had sat before her as she painted, and that she was now foisting these degenerate folks on them.
Thank you. As you very much sense from that, Karen is really a very striking kind of a protagonist, and it's something I sense from reading the book. And I say striking because she's really, in a sense, it's almost one feels like she doesn't have the force of direction one associates with the protagonist. She's almost a free floating character. There's a curious which is very elusive, and she not only floats through life, she absorbs experience like a sponge. She goes through different places, different locations, different relationships, and she's also a very woman, not only because she's single, but also in this freedom of her character. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about this kind of protagonist you created, who is so there and yet in some ways so hard to touch.
I've been asked by an interview who came out that like she has all this, we know what to do with it, and that's I don't know if I was thinking of her as athlete free floating. Thinking of her as maybe India, and if that makes her a bit of a cipher, because she's not like you said, she's single, she doesn't have children, She has a house that her father built her, which is kind of falling apart, but it's still there. And she doesn't have very much money, and she just about gets by. But she has no necessary overarching ambition. And so the experience in itself, the experience of reading a book or seeing a work of art or a relationship becomes a kind of end in itself for her. And I'm very fascinated, and I think to some extent this is particular to Bangalore. I don't know if other cities have this as well. That in the pre-boom years, before it became like an IT hub and before it attracted these scores of very driven, very money young professionals, Bangalore had these figures, and it still has them, and now they're growing older. And I feel very sort of tender about them because they're extremely intelligent, curious, well-read people, but achievers. They have not achieved success in any recognizable paradigm of either artistic or literary or intellectual success. But their cultural landscape, I mean, we meet them in Koshis, which is this famous coffee, famous cafe in Bangalore. And I think they are, because there is no place, more and more, there is no place in our society, I think, for people who have a wealth of achievement. And so that is the kind of character that I want to create. I realize it's a bit of a risk. Not only because she's 63, but and that makes it even harder for people to find it convincing that she could be so untroubled by her lack of direction. So I had to give her therefore because she's so dissolute in a way. I had to give her a push. I had to create a drama for her. And the drama comes halfway through the book. I won't tell you what it is, but there is something that causes her to run away from Bangalore and to land up in the place that Kalyanda was describing, where she discovers this dance form. So external events create the push that is not coming from inside her. But even that push is, where she chooses to go is completely random. It's just based on an encounter that she had with somebody who is a kind of impresario for this dance form. And he told her many years ago that if you want to come anywhere, come to our village and we will host you. So she's just like, oh, I remember that conversation, so I will go there. But I think this could also be me. It could just be me not able to write a great Indian family epic book. Just not able to write those novels where there is a mother-in-law and there's a daughter. I just can't. I'm not able to. Much as I enjoy reading some of those kind of books, I'm unable to write family novels. Maybe Saikat, you can throw some light on this because you do write about families.
I'm glad reading is so fascinating in literature, but I'm so glad that you talk about drifters and failures, people on the margins. I'm going to push you a little bit and maybe wind this up soon and kind of invite the audience into the conversation. But before I do that, I just want to push you in that direction which you painted, that climactic event in the middle of the novel for the reading pleasure. But suffice to say that when I drew attention to it in the reading, that there's this rural place where we go. So there is two kinds of art walls evoked in this novel. One is urban and very urbane, and cosmopolitan in the sense you described. And the other is rural. And it's very interesting because you expect it to be pastoral, and yet it's a pastoral riddle with violence. This is a world of the non-modern and the decadent associated with royalty. And I was wondering, like, how do you work evoking these two completely different art worlds? I mean, of course, one is visual art, one is performative, but more than that, one is rural and one is urban and global. So, can you say a little bit about the contrasting art worlds?
Both part of India. So I think as a novelist, again, I'm curious about what it might mean for someone from one world to go to the other, wanting to understand it with the idea that maybe she can understand it.
And I was again very interested in her experience of it as much as what it is in reality. What it is in reality is really hard to say, but how does it filter through the perception of somebody who is so used to living in a city and used to a certain cosmopolitanism, and then to come and meet this king who is yet another cosmopolitan. He is also royalty, the best of Indian royalty, the most progressive. Was actually very king who lives in a small town in the middle of nowhere, speaks very good English, and has all these ideas about how his dance form is a wonderful treasure that needs to be revived. And I'm also interested in how, as middle class Indians, who are kind of cut off from this heritage, it's outside the cities, are nostalgia for it. And I worked for many years in a foundation which was funding arts projects. And many of the proposals that I was looking at were from people somehow engaged with the rural, with the pastoral. And those proposals were always fascinating because they revealed as much about the person writing, that person's nostalgia and longing for this other India as the thing that they wanted to study. So I brought a bit of that memory into this novel. The idea of Naina feels, oh, I might find myself there. So it's not so much the form and the pastor as the self-reflection. How does it reflect on me as a modern Indian who actually doesn't have any relationship to village India?
What is it about being a modern Indian? This is an overarching question in the novel, and one character unforgettably says that it's hard work being a modern Indian. So, why is it hard work being a modern Indian? I guess I have my ideas about why is it hard work it is, but I want to know what your sense of the difficulty is.
Because everything is at one remove, I think. If you speak English, then you have this feeling that your language is creating a distance between you and the real. If you live in a city, you feel at one remove because the real is in the village. When you're in the village, you feel the real is at one remove because only when you can interview these dancers and get down to the story of their lives will you have understood this dance form. But when you interview them, they don't really have anything. So I think this distancing, to me, that makes it hard to be a modern Indian. I don't know, Kayanda, maybe you have an answer. This is not a manual on how to be a modern Indian, so you're not necessarily going to get the answers. But the question remains.
Anjum, I'm glad you asked because one of the things that attracted me to Kayana and the fact that I don't see her as an ordinary character because she's constantly asking questions of herself. She is not willing to let herself off the hook easily, and that is what makes her a wonderful character in the novel, especially basically the heroine of the novel and the scene line in many ways. But also, in terms of society, Indian society, it is so layered. When you say it's English, what kind of English? Is it Southeast English? Is it Baban's newly acquired English? Is it the girlfriend's English? Is it the bored wife's English who has so much money and the husband has the car outlets, which is very much like Rabbit Armstrong in the later novel, and so forth. That's a very interesting connection, I thought. And this is a novel which is full of intriguing details like that. And the other thing that I thought I should mention is the art, the beauty, life's beauty, and the beauty of the everyday, where Kainat looks and observes the daily ritual of a housewife as she washes her clothes and washes her feet and arranges her hair and snaps the towel, which is all wet with the hair, the water that is dripped from my hair. And she understands the dance-like beauty of the everyday that is there. And this is something that kind of has not observed before. She has grown in ways that she does not necessarily always has her finger on. And that is what makes her a character more than I observe what I have become. No, she's more than she's observed, she's become. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what is so intriguing, that as a protagonist, she looks outside. That's really fascinating. I think it's about time we invite the audience to the discussion. So why don't we open it up? If you have any questions for Anjum about the novel, about subjects that we discussed, so feel free to bring them up.
Yes, they've done. Also, please talk about the element of crime. This wonderful character of Shah Rukh and others, which makes up so much of modern Indian society. Putting one on over the other.
Yeah, I would like to ask two questions, two comments. One is that, do you think that there is a sort of a desire among Indians to become cosmopolitan? So this is one question, because all around I see the desire is to make money and is that cosmopolitan? Do these people have any idea what cosmopolitan is? And second question is related to the reviews. So in one of your Facebook update, you announced that please do not read my reviews. Because the reason why, because our reviews doesn't know that they are spoilers not to be given. And this is a problem all authors we face. Like the reviewers doesn't really know what to reveal and what not to reveal. And they act as spoilers than something good. So comment on that too.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I can hardly complain about the reviews in one sense, because it's been very widely reviewed, mostly very positively reviewed. But I'm horrified by how many reviewers have felt that it's completely fine to just summarize the whole plot of the novel. And it's this idea, I think, that a literary novel does not have a plot, so there's no problem giving. But like I said right at the beginning, I'm also very interested in conventional storytelling techniques where there is a beginning and a middle and an end, and you only come to the middle in the middle. You're not to read about it in a review. So much as I'm tempted to share the reviews, and I have shared some, you're absolutely right. It's incredible illiteracy among reviewers. I was starting to feel like maybe it should be like a course for reviewers, or newspapers should have guidelines or something on what to talk about. But I think it's also because we need to write down 700 words, and if they're not to write about the plot, what will they write about? You don't necessarily know what else they could write about. So yeah, that is definitely a problem. Your other point was about cosmopolitans. See, I think there are many different ways. I mean, wanting to eat in McDonald's and drive a Mercedes is also a kind of cosmopolitan ambition. It may be hollow, but it is an interesting idea of becoming something other than who you are. And to me, that's equally, as a novelist, I'm not necessarily judging one against the other. I'm just saying these are all, that is the hard work of being an Indian. That there's so many different things which we're trying to be more weirder, some are more superficial, but they're all part of who we are.
Thank you very much for this discussion. It was lovely listening to you all. Anjum, your book is very, very funny, judging by what I've heard, and I'm very envious because comedy is very hard to write. And I can see that not only have you taken down the art world, you've also taken a dig at journalism, which is also quite nice to hear. So I'm just curious, have you had any snide remarks from art critics or the art world?
I think they're really I would love for the art worlds to comment on. I'm very, very curious to know what artists and art critics and people professionally belong to that world would have to say about this. But so far, I've actually not heard anything in writing or even in person actually. The launch of this book in Bangalore was held at an art gallery, a beautiful old bungalow that's now been converted to an art gallery, which was very special for me because it's not a place where book events are usually held. And there were a lot of artists and artist friends in the audience, and so at some point I would go back to me.
So, thank you for the lovely discussion. It was amazing. As an aspiring writer, my question to you would be, how did you go about writing about this modern Indian woman who is not materialist? Because for most people, the idea of cosmopolitanism has to do with materialistic things, has to do with what they achieve. But here is a woman who is not looking for anything. So how did you go about it?
Like I said earlier, I think the fact that she's the age she is and that she belongs, she grew up in this environment where her father was a figure and she grew up all over the country. She grew up in these government bungalows where she pretty much had to kind of fall back on her own resources emotionally as well as materially. It was not a very childhood that she's had. That creates a certain idea of worth, right? I don't think idea of material that may be a post or a 91 or post 2000 idea, but it's not the only idea. And I'm trying to reinstate, I guess, through her an older idea of the cosmopolitan. That's and like I said in Bangalore, one needs these older this new economy of desire. They are part of an economy of desire, but not the new one, not the flashier, showier one. A much more quieter individual economy. So that's